What is the craziest encounter of rich kid syndrome that you have experienced? Girl at work told me she hated her dad. I asked why. She said he keeps asking for money since she used his credit card for a Euro trip and left him an 80 grand bill from last year. 80 grand credit card bill for a vacation, holy frick. First day as a librarian in a private school. Help a 7-year-old with the printer. He offers to tip me. I like this one because he's not a snot. He's just trying to be polite. My friend is a commercial pilot and works for a large company that has a flight department consisting of several jets and turboprop airplanes. The owner's kids and a group of their friends were granted permission to take one of the jets from the central part of the US to the Bahamas. Upon arriving in the Bahamas, they were meeting other friends and getting on a very large yacht for a week. They realized the yacht was equipped with fine dining food, not the type of food they liked, junk food. They ordered the pilots to fly back through US customs and to their hometown in the Midwest. Once there, they had to pick up multiple sides of BBQ ribs, burgers, hot dogs, soda, beer and piles of other junk food and fly back to the Bahamas, and do so within a time frame that still allowed them to leave with the yacht on time. It costs roughly $5,000 an hour to operate the jet they were using. And it never even struck the owners as something extreme. Edit. Due to the popularity of this post, I called and got clarification on several points that have been repeatedly questioned. The BBQ, ribs, pulled pork and amp sauce was the main purpose for the return trip to the Midwest. If you are from the Midwest, or a southern BBQ city, you know what I'm talking about. They don't have this in FL, period. The other junk food was add-on requests from other guests. The plane owner's son had promised, in the months prior, to bring some of the BBQ he had told his other friends, who he was meeting in the Bahamas, about repeatedly throughout college. He forgot, and was catching hell for it. In an act of boldness, he sent the plane back for it. This is the most extreme example of how these planes are used, and wealth flaunted, within this company. That's with the understanding that wife shopping trips, sending a plane back to pick up a kid after school to come to FL, ball games, hunting and amp, fishing trips and to dine in a restaurant 3,000 miles away, is commonplace. On occasion, these planes and pilots have been used as angel flights to transport ill children and family throughout the country for medical procedures. The pilots for this company aren't paid the best, but are permitted to bring family, spouses mostly, to destinations as space and work schedule dictates. Some senior pilots can stay at company-owned property nationwide if available. Twins in high school. Birthday, I think it was 17. They get matching pickup trucks. Like the souped-up larger-than-life cool-as freck-looking black ones. Twin A is the brat and smashes his in some remarkable time frame. I want to say same day. It was crazy though. Parents decide not to get him another one, though I'm sure insurance probably covered it even if it was his fault. But regardless, he is going to learn a lesson. The lesson: take Twin B's truck, he's the responsible one, and crash it on purpose. If he can't have one, neither can his brother. So much recklessness, spite, and downright illegal in what he did. Follow up: not sure if he went to prison etc. I do know he wasn't at school the next year, but he very well could have just dropped out. He was pretty sketchy. Twin B was actually a really good guy, but as soon as his brother was gone he became very quiet. He did eventually get some sort of car, but I remember it was much more toned down to the point I can't remember what it even looked like. But he got something. There weren't many other rich kids at the school, so this whole story stuck out as a huge event when it happened. Humble rich kid. I was at a club at my college town, and my roommate's new friend who drove a Raptor was at the bar. I started shooting shit, and we were getting along, so I offered to buy a Y-bomb vodka Red Bull shot. Being as wealthy as he said, "You don't have to do that, man, save your money. Round will be on me." I explained to him it didn't bother, I was having a good time, and insisted I buy the shot. Immediately after that, he pulls out a black Amex and purchases the nicest VIP booth in the club, around $3K. Then ask what drink packages they have and ask if he could buy 2 bottles on top of Max package. Looks at me and goes tit for tat. Safe to say I don't recall much after that. I went to college with a guy who totaled 5 Mustangs in a year. I don't think he was sober enough to remember any of them. At least he doesn't give up. My personal favorite was in college. Kid down the hall from me bought a brand new Fender Stratocaster and played with it for a day and got bored and sold it to me case and all for $20. I still have it and play it 15 years later. It's a great guitar. When I was in college, a friend that was heavy in the frat life told me about a freshman that got kicked out for having a servant flown to town to do the hazing chores he was supposed to do. One time a college dorm mate next door was stressing his dad hadn't yet given him money for the month and $1,000 wasn't going to last him for the week. Meanwhile I'm having to donate plasma to afford my next meal. Life just be like that. Teacher here. Two spring to mind. My first teaching job was at a private middle school in one of the wealthiest enclaves in the United States. I taught a kid who told me he didn't finish his homework because his helicopter had stalled over the weekend so he couldn't leave his family's island. He was telling the truth. Same kid was also a huge pain in the ass who wanted to misbehave with the cool kids and then would lie through his teeth while crying when held accountable. His parents knew he was a jerk and cared enough to bring me a case of wine from their vineyard as a gift every parent-teacher conference or before the holidays, but they didn't care enough to discipline their kid. I now teach at a private school in Europe, and I'm absolutely gobsmacked by how many parents are happy to pay $35,000 per year to dump their kids into boarding so they can do fuck all as students and repeat grades 1 2 3 times because they don't make any effort whatsoever. There was this rich kid in our class who was literally disgusted by us buying used stuff, like computer parts, on eBay. Once during conversation I said I bought an eBay memory module for my PC, and said to me that I should have a little dignity, and if I buy used stuff I should keep it to myself. I know a garbage man that works in rich neighborhoods, and takes out trash around move out time for the uber rich kid university. Every year, he finds 200-300 game consoles, the newest ones, and sometimes desktop PCs. The kids don't want to take them home, they just throw them all out. He makes a good $40,000 a year on eBay. He just cleans stuff up and sells it. Nice supplementary income. At my uni some Saudi kid left an Audi in the parking lot when he went back home. Got towed, impounded, and when called he said he didn't give a shit, so it got sold at auction to recoup all the impound fees. A 14-year-old in full volume cursing meltdown. Where the freak is he? Because the pilot of the private helicopter that had brought him there had gone off to get a cup of coffee. The kid was done skiing for the day and found it totally unacceptable that he had to wait 10 minutes before he got flown home. I was that poor kid who ended up getting a scholarship to a ridiculous private school. The one thing that stood out massively for me was probably how much people cared about what everyone else's parents did. Like your parents' achievements counted for yourself. My daddy just brought a new plane. Yes, a literal statement. So what does your dad do? When I replied freckle, they laughed and thought I was being cool about it. There's a lot of rich kids in my particular business program in university. I met this one girl a few months ago at a social. We were chatting a bit about our program, and she proudly told me about how she threatens to sue the school whenever things don't go her way. She also said something to the effect of, they have to take the threat seriously, because they know I actually have the means to follow through. Haha. I studied abroad during school, and my class had a super rich kid. One day he stops showing up to class but still meets up with us after class for beer. When we eventually asked why, he said he was done going to class, and that he was going to sue the school, and have his dad stop making donations, but didn't want to talk about why. Everyone made fun of him, and he stopped coming to meet us after class for the rest of the semester. Came to find out that one of the foreign professors sexually assaulted him one night when he was drunk. It's been a decade, and I feel terrible. A girl in my school was surprised by her parents in the school's parking lot with a new BMW. A freaking BMW. Everyone who is out is basically watching this go down, and she starts crying. At first we are all thinking it's because she's so happy, but then she runs back into the school. Apparently they were supposed to show up earlier, I'm assuming when there would be more students to witness the surprise. I felt bad for the dad because he looked totally embarrassed and sad about it. You know, in his head he's like, I created this monster. My college roommate's mom gave him fucking $1,400 for the weekend. Just randomly. He blew through the whole thing by Saturday, asked his mom for more money, and was screaming at her because she promised $1,400 for the weekend, and he spent most of what she gave him on Friday, which isn't a part of the weekend.